Hey guys, it's USAFA. Welcome back to Voices of the Community. Some players just play MCOC, others take it apart piece by piece. Volatility is the latter. A perfectionist and compulsive helper, she joined the game in 2019 knowing nothing about Marvel, but she stayed in it for the challenge, the planning, and the satisfaction of punching up with less. As head officer of EXCØM, she built a home for loyalty over leaderboards and honesty over hype. Her YouTube channel blends humor, skill, and brutal truth, never censored, never filtered. From her Let's Make Some Enemies series to her fight for fair design, Volatility's voice cuts through the noise. She's sharp, unafraid, and impossible to ignore. Ladies and gentlemen, Volatility. Hey guys, it's USAFA. Welcome back to another episode of Voices of the Community. I am so excited today because we have Volatility on the line. Volatility, how about you give yourself an introduction and tell us how you started playing this game?
Alrighty. Well, yeah, I'm Volatility, or Vol for short, whatever you prefer. I have been serially punching up from the start of playing this game. I've been playing every day since January 6th, 2019. From the inception of my account, I'd always been trying to progress fast and keep up with those I was playing alongside, but without the roster to do so. But I dedicated myself to properly learning the game, and I wanted to do what I could as well as I could. So that meant, facing the content head on, doing what I could, continually trying to progress, and that led to needing to think outside the box in order to get through everything. And I found that very fulfilling and stimulating mentally, to have to come up with all these alternate ideas, because, people would suggest counters for fights and I don't have it, so we gotta figure out another way through. And in doing that, that kind of formed my approach to the game even long after my roster expanded, and I now have a rather cozy account. Nowhere near as cozy as yours, but still, it's pretty decent. And yeah, that has shaped how I play the game, and I think that makes it useful for giving advice to others, because I will not just say the step one, the plan A of the mix. And that was how I played the game. Ended up in an alliance, being an officer, head officer, and giving a lot of advice to the members, trying to make sure they get through what they need to. And even though I could go more competitive if I wanted to, I have not, for various reasons. It's just what works best for me. And then that led to the creation of my YouTube channel, because I wanted to be able to help people and have a platform for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2019, that's a bit ago. It was right before COVID. What brought you to the game? Were you a Marvel fan, or it was just something that popped up in one of your feeds? You're like, hey, this looks interesting. Let's try it out.
Well, I had on a whim downloaded the game a time or two back in late 2014, early 2015, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was spending all my units on premium hero crystals. I was selling my champions. I didn't know what masteries were, and then I would drop it after a couple of weeks. And fast forward many years later, I was looking for a sort of time waster that I could sink some energy into, and I happened to remember MCOC, and I figured, let's give this a legitimate attempt. Let's actually go in and play it right. And yeah, in terms of the Marvel facet of it, I'm a bit of a unique case where I know absolutely nothing about Marvel.
Right.
I haven't read any of the comics. I don't know anything about the MCU. I mentioned that, the most I did was watch a Spider-Man movie in theaters in the 2000s when I was a kid, and I remember none of it. So that's the furthest I can go in terms of providing any type of history.
Right.
So I just like the gameplay and collecting aspect. The whole thing of, getting characters, making them stronger, and facing content with it was very appealing to me. And yeah, ever since then, I just ended up playing the game every single day since then, and it became it became a habit, and then eventually a part of my life.
Right. You mentioned about your deck and your roster and your account. How it was again, it started low, and then you were able to grow it and be able to compete at a fairly high level. Can you describe one example of when you were punching up and when you were successful and knowing that you could actually do this?
When thinking about something like that, the earliest example that comes to mind that I can remember is the good old Act 6. Remember, 4 stars were not allowed
Yeah,
way
yeah,
back when?
yeah.
Which was
Way back
a
when.
crushing blow to my account, because I barely had any 5 stars, let alone good ones. I just kept pulling OG Captain America, and what am I supposed to do with that guy? yeah, I had really bad luck.
Right.
So I couldn't use any of my good 4-stars, which meant I had to barrel through all of this content that had very specific nodes and very specific, very punishing bosses with just nothing. And yeah, 6.1.2, the Ultron boss.
Yeah.
Not the Sentinel, but the Ultron boss. I did not have any type of, yeah, no Medusa. I had 4-star Medusa, but she wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
You know, back in my day, players nowadays have it so easy they can bring their 4-star Medusa for that
Right.
Ultron. But what I ended up having to do was, yeah, taking an unduped 5-star Nebula to rank 3, and I didn't even have the ISO to level her up all the way, so she was probably around level 21.
Yep.
I brought her in there, and I did the Ultron with her, and I think it was like maybe a few revives. Again, she was not hitting hard, but
Yep.
you just hold the block, you get the amp charges, and just kind of shut him down, and you basically hit a punching bag until it falls, and, you know, try and avoid AI shenanigans in the mix.
Right.
That was definitely an example of strategizing that I needed to do. Another example that comes to mind is when I did Variant 3, and there is a Kang boss at the end with the node selective time stream where you need Incinerate or Shock, because after a certain amount of time, if he does not have that on him, he will regenerate all of his health.
Yep.
Well, I didn't have that. So guess what I did? I soloed it with a 5-star Guillotine 2099, and it worked. I actually have footage of it. I never uploaded it or anything, but I have that proof. Yeah, you just got to get through it.
Yeah.
She hits real hard after having a combo, so there's that. And I think another example of how I'm a little bit insane is when I was doing Labyrinth of Legends and I was soloing fights in there with Quake.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah, I really like Quake. I willingly use her because she's obviously not popular at the moment given the 5-star lock. No. In Act 7 Crucible, I quaked the MODOK with her, and I think I either soloed it or used 1 revive, and then in Act 8 Crucible, I quaked the Ebony Maw and I did solo that.
Yeah, I never learned how to use Quake. Like, I tried. I tried, and I just could not do it. And you could see all these players like Volatility go out there and just do insane things with Quake, and I never could do it. So God bless you for being able to do that. I'm more of the parry heavy kind of guy when it comes to playing. Yeah. All right. So eventually you started and you opened up a YouTube channel and you started streaming. Why?
Yes.
What led to that? What was your purpose behind opening up a YouTube channel and starting to reach out to the community?
Well, I wanted a place to shove some more of my creative energy because I've had to put some things on hold outside of the game. So that was one way. I had a bit more time and had the had all the ideas floating about to do so. And then also because of my alliance, I kind of phrase it lovingly as taking care of my man children.
Right.
At the time, I was managing all 3 battle groups in war. I was team building for over a third of the alliance every war, and explaining all the fights, having to assign all the mini bosses. And given that a lot of players don't prefer reading nodes or anything like that, and I happen to know the best counters for the fights and how you're supposed to do it, that led to me explaining things a lot. And given that I was dealing with a bunch of people, it led to me explaining the same things many times.
Right.
And that was getting a little bit old, admittedly, and I figured it would probably save time overall to construct a sort of hub for that, and then just link people to whatever information they needed to know.
Absolutely.
So thus I made my channel. My first few videos were actually war solos, and I think they were all with Stealth Spidey, and because I mean he's my guy. And when people are like, how do I do this fight? I'd link and I'd explain. But it ended up growing far beyond that very early on, because guess what? I just can't help myself. And I really like helping other people. I describe myself as a compulsive helper.
Right.
And so the more people who found my channel, it just was a no-brainer to try and offer advice and create tutorials for them as well. So after those first few war videos, and I think an introduction video where I just show myself and explain what I'm doing here and why, I was making tutorials for current content that was released at the time, like Alliance War showcases, what I refer to as blank of blank fights, where it's like, summer of sorrow, spring of suffering, autumn of agony, those things. Doing tutorials on how to solo those fights and everything. And that was yeah, just wanting to help people.
Yeah.
My two big things with having the channel and my only motives, no more, no less, is to help people and have a fun time doing it.
Yep.
If something does not align with either of those, I have no interest in it.
Yep.
Truly, no more, no less. And this may not have been exactly what you were asking, but I feel like it flows, is that I kind of pivoted to live streaming instead because for me, I try real hard and that then results in making videos. It takes a lot of time, way too much time. Because yeah, and so I figured what would actually be more helpful for people is if I do more things. And the best way to ensure that is, oh, okay, I'm at my computer, I have my phone, I have it connected to the computer,
Yep.
and it's all happening and I can't stop it once it starts. I'm in, I'm doing it, and it's all at once, and it will be up permanently once that's done. That would lead to a lot more output from me. So
Yep.
that was eventually what I decided to do. It came pretty easily. I talk a lot, so that helped. And yeah, so live streaming is my main thing. And yeah, the
Yeah.
video that you were talking about, that kind of led you to wanting to do this interview, that's a rarity for me. That took a lot of time, a lot
Yep.
of effort, dozens of hours. And so yeah, because I tried quite hard on it, and I can't just pump those out.
Yeah.
I have other things to be doing with my time and other ways to play the game, taking care of my lines and everything. So
Absolutely.
yeah, videos tend to be less common for me unless I see a true purpose for it. Live streaming is my main thing because it allows me to do more. I get to speak with people in real time and give them advice as I'm going about it, get to explain myself as everything's going on, and that just seems to be what works best for me.
Yeah. Now you've self-described yourself as a pretty private person.
Yes.
And if someone hears that and knows that you're a live streamer, they would think that that's kind of a that contradicts itself. Do you believe it does? Do you step out of your comfort zone every time you do a live stream, or are you able to maintain that sense of privacy and when you do those live streams?
It's super interesting. There are a couple different facets of that question. It's a bit of a yes and no.
Yep.
I am not private about my personality. It's a little bit too overt. It's a
Yep.
little bit too much of a brick to the head to actually hide it. So I kind of made amends with that from the get-go and was like, you want to know what would be the most fun to do is actually just be myself, because I've
Right.
never been a fan of pretending. It doesn't feel nice, doesn't fulfill me. And if I'm putting my free time into this, I might as well have fun, and I might as well kind of do it to
Yeah.
help people, but also just for my own enjoyment. So that was one of the few things that I decided upon immediately when creating my channel, even though I thought that
Yep.
would lead to backlash, which it didn't end up doing so, which was very nice, but still. And so me being myself, me having my sense of humor, and me going about things the way that I do, that has always been completely free and laid out and is very overt. So if you come
Right.
to my stream and you're talking to me, I will be exactly as I am everywhere else.
Right.
For what it's worth, I am always like this. For better and for worse, I am always like this, and I cannot hide that even if I try.
Right.
And I don't want to try either, so it works out in the end.
Right.
So in that essence, you can't, I don't think you can hide your actual personality when you're live streaming, or at the very least, it would be very, very difficult. And I think that there would be this uncanny valley effect
Right.
where people would kind of sense that something's off or that you're holding back.
Right.
Yeah, so the concept of hiding your personality, I don't think so. At least it's not super straightforward.
Right.
But the being private about, I don't know, the facets of my life that don't involve MCOC, that's pretty easy. Someone
Yeah.
asks about it, I don't answer. And
Right.
I respond to what I'm comfortable responding to. It's not as if I'm a menace about it or anything. Like, how dare you? Just don't worry about it. It's fine. And so I think that you can be private just by not. I just talk about the game, and I
Yep.
talk about my thoughts on the game. In that essence, I'm completely open.
Yep.
Beyond that, there's not much that's going to be spared. Really, the main thing that I will admit to that doesn't involve the game is that I'm a big fan of the arts, particularly music.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I completely admire that too, because I try to keep a separation between my work, my family, and this game, and that includes live streaming or producing videos. So I think it is important, and I admire you for being able to separate and keep those things separate. Absolutely. Um, Have you ever thought about joining the CCP? Is that kind of a next step for you, or is that not on your radar?
Well, anything pertaining to the CCP has come to me.
Okay.
I am not interested in actively seeking it out myself. I do have some offers pending,
Right.
but I figured I should probably do that whole series of what I believe to be the issue with the current state of the game,
Okay.
just as a, to not bait and switch them, to not be like, oh yeah, sure, take me in, and then I'm just like, here's why everything sucks. That would feel a little bit disingenuous,
Yeah.
and I would rather just lay all of that out and then have them decide whether or not they still want to deal with me before going into that. I mean, even then, even if they still wanted me after that, I'm not really sure what whether or not I would accept. It's not an exceptionally appealing concept
Yeah.
to me. I know that there have been various like very well-known creators who are in the CCP who would tell me, "Oh, you'd be a great addition." I'm like, I don't really think so. I insult the company a little too much. I don't think they'd want me. But then they got me for the women's event, and I was like, really now?
Yeah.
You
Right.
really want me involved? I was shocked, and I gave every warning in the book. Like, are you sure? Do you see what I say? And they're
Right.
just like, no, you can come in. So I said, all right, if you're happy to work with me, I'm happy to work with you. If ever you find something that has crossed that line, then you can drop me without any type of warning, and I will not take it personally. I completely understand.
Right.
Anyways,
All right, so when you head up to Summers Fest in a week, they're going to have the ability for the community to sit down with Kabam developers and key staff. Are you planning on raising up any of your concerns with them in person?
I didn't plan on it. If anything, I'd just be curious if they saw the video and what they thought about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be the furthest extent of it. I'm not there to like cause a ruckus
Confront.
or anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very Canadian and I'm very harmless and I don't like conflict, which is funny because I made that video. But still, I'm not a fan of conflict. So I just try to be there and have a good time and soak up as much of the environment as I possibly could. So if I were to ask anything, it wouldn't be inflammatory.
Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna start wrapping this up, Volatility.
Okay.
We're already a little over time here, but
Oh, okay.
I do have a couple more questions for you, if you don't mind. Um,
Sure.
and these are just closing questions that just need a again, it's probably like one of those rapid questions you don't need to think about too much.
I'll try my best.
All right. Um, so MCOC has been a part of your identity for years. How do you keep it fun instead of defining you?
It's a tricky balance is the answer. One
Yeah.
that I haven't entirely figured out myself because I'm very human and I'm very fallible.
Yeah.
And I'm also a little bit I get quite invested in things, and so making it my goal to be good at the game and to be able to help people. Sometimes I can get a little bit lost in that, and then
Yeah.
it can be a little bit too consuming. And it's just a matter of as life goes on and as I want to make time for more things, I could lessen that.
Yeah.
Whenever I do find myself getting overwhelmed, I am human and fallible, and even though there are various things I always wish to do so much, I always have so many ideas and ways that I want to be able to make videos and streams and help people and all that. Most of them don't come to fruition because, yeah, I am who I am, flaws and all, and
Right.
only so much can be done. So rather than freak out about it or take that difficulty to the public, which oh my god, I would never do. I I figured, well, I do what I can when I can. It's not as if I make a living from this or get any type of like sizable income. That's
Yep.
not my interest anyways.
Yep.
Again, help
It's a
people have
hobby.
a fun time doing it. Success or money is completely irrelevant in that mixture, which is why I gave up any and all wishes to have Kabam like me from the get-go, because that wouldn't line up. And I don't care, I'm just doing this for fun. It is what it is. So given that it is just for fun, and I do have a life outside of this, there's only so much time and so much
Right.
energy I can put into it, and just trying not to be too hard on myself from that. Very difficult. I really do like laying into myself like a fiend,
Yeah.
but just kind of reminding myself this is a game at the end of the day. I can only do what I'm capable of. I'm not responsible for, say, my entire alliance. I can't manage everything. I can't do everything perfectly. Maybe I had the potential to if I were to completely dedicate myself to this game 24/7, but that's not healthy and I shouldn't have to.
Yep.
So I try to remind myself of that. It doesn't always work, but that's the intended effect.
When frustration gets too much, what do you do? Do you have like a ritual? Do you to step back and hit reset, or what do you do when you start to feel yourself getting a little bit too frustrated with the game?
Yeah, I mean, take a. When I say take a break, I still play it every day, so
Right, we
don't
all
go that
do.
far with
We all
it.
do.
But
Yeah,
say if if something is really overwhelming me and I just feel frustrated, like I can't take more of this right now.
yeah,
It's too much MCOC. I had that thought a lot. This is just too much MCOC.
yep.
I'm like, well, I'll I'll just make sure I get a good sleep. Maybe do things outside of this game, have good talks with good people,
Yep.
things like that, and get back into it when I feel motivated to. Sometimes my hand is a bit forced by needing to manage my alliance. I mean, war happens, AQ happens, you gotta do that, you gotta be
What
there. Uh,
what do you call your alliance? The mature men babies, or what do you call them?
oh, they're my man children that I
Your man
mother.
children. Your man children. Your
Yeah,
mother.
I mean, they're a bunch of sweet guys,
All right.
but yeah, it's kind of the running joke that I manage a lot, and I have quite good strategy in comparison to the
Right.
medium, and I can provide that information and monitor them, be like, hey, can you move up in AQ and stuff?
All right, last question for you. I ask this
Sure.
question every interview that I do,
Sure.
and I really truly want to know your answer. I want Voices of the Community to be a long-standing series. I want to interview many more people across the community, across all walks of life. But what I want to hear from you is, who would you rather hear from in a future episode of Voice of the Community? You can give me a name, you can give me a category like free-to-play, casual spender, or whale, Kabam employee, content creator. Who would you most like to hear from in future episodes of Voices of the Community?
I'd be curious. I doubt many casual players would offer to be on your streams. It's usually
Yep,
people who are very invested into the game.
yep,
But getting that perspective, I find to be exceptionally useful. I mean, I was recently doing a roundtable for Truth Comic and Co. And it was
yep.
with a bunch of people who are extremely high skilled, who have invested a lot into their accounts, like just phenomenal accounts and players. And hearing all of that perspective, I think that's a lot of what occupies this space, the YouTube space, because it's
Yep.
going to be the best players who are the most invested in making the content, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But then it's like I was hearing a lot of perspectives that then I'm like, oh, but I know a bunch of more regular players, typical, like good Valiants, but not super competitive, don't learn the nodes that much, and I know a bunch of casual players too, and it's like it's such a different experience.
Yeah.
It's a completely different world. And so I think that with all of the really good competitive players and high spenders, stuff like that, speaking about their experience, there's a lot of that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but we may forget about the the more like the less impressive people, the more modest accounts who are just doing what they
Yep.
can and are not trying to be the very best like no one ever was. And I think that hearing more of those voices would be very useful. I mean, the last thing I'll say about this is that I try very hard to advocate for the average player, the casual player, the non-heavy spenders, the folks that I associate with, because they represent the vast majority of the player base. And while maybe they aren't giving Kabam most of the money, they have the largest chunk of population, and I think that their voices matter quite a lot, but it gets drowned out by all of the really high level players. And may I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Perfect. I think that, yeah, that's actually become a bit of a problem where most of what you're hearing about the community is all from very good players, all from very high level players. And I think
Vocal.
that might
Yeah.
be a part of the reason why the game has changed, because Kabam sees all of these top players speaking about their experience and their issues, and they're like, oh, this is super easy for me. I can fight Zola, and I can fight Enchantress, I can do all this stuff, this is fine. So then I think Kabam feels the need to up the ante because everyone's just saying like, this is fine, I can handle this, no problem.
Yep.
Meanwhile, 90% of the players are like, what is going on? And then they keep making stuff to try and trip up the tryhards, which I'm one of those, so it's not an insult.
Right.
And then it's like, but
No
what about
offense.
all the people who struggle anyways? Like
Yeah.
they're raising the bar for the people who are already kind of too good at this game.
Yeah.
I think that with how things should be made, the best players shouldn't really struggle much unless they are at the top of the top. But I think with the defenders they release and how they go about it, they're kind of focusing on tripping up those people, but then everyone else is just getting screwed over as a result of that. And
Yeah.
that's all ended there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I can empathize with that sentiment. I do think the game is getting a lot harder, and I do think that the most vocal people are the ones who are in-game players that are making a trivial a very difficult and complex problem a trivial answer. So absolutely.
Yeah, I may do that, but I also want to bridge the gap and say that this is not the norm and
Right,
this
right.
is not what you should expect when doing it.
Absolutely. All right, Volatility. So that is going to be the end of the interview. Thank you so much for spending your night with me, and happy Halloween. I
Happy
really do
Halloween.
appreciate it. There you go. For all the viewers that are listening to this video, please, if you wouldn't mind hitting like or subscribe, and please head over to Volatility's channel and please subscribe over there. She puts out some really great live streams, some really great content, and I really do appreciate you spending your night with me. But with that being
Of
said,
course.
I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll see you guys in another episode of Voices of the Community.